Today is the first Quick Win live call. I wanted to introduce my partner, Daryl, who is going to be our Master of Ceremonies today, and we'll do kind of a quick overview of the webinar.
Yeah, so we are using a program called Zoom. If you haven't used it before, just a couple of things to note. First of all, at the bottom of the Zoom window, there are a few options. You'll see a Q&A option, a chat option. If you can hear me, would you just go to that chat option really quick and type in the word yes so that I know that you guys are all with us right now? Awesome. Yes, yes, yes. All these are coming in. That's perfect. Great. So in that chat channel, there's a little blue drop down at the bottom where you typed your message in. It says all panelists. Click that drop down and there's a place that says all panelists and attendees. If you click on that, that will allow you to chat with everybody in the group as we're going through the call today. If you want to chat with just me, switch that back to all panelists. And you can just ask me a question specifically. So I'll be here helping today. If you have any questions about how this software works, how the platform works, we will do that. And in just a few minutes, Tasha's going to share with us for about 10 or 15 minutes. And then after that, we're going to go into a live Q&A session. And during that live Q&A, you'll actually be able to ask Tasha questions, anything about the course, about self-awareness, anything that is relevant to the topic of the Future Ready Leader course.
If you're like so many of the executives I coach, the leaders I work with all around the world, I would guess that you're probably pretty overwhelmed. That's the most common thing I hear, whether it's, we have fewer and fewer people to get the job done and more work, whether it's changes in the marketplace, regulatory changes, it's all these things coming at you. And the smartest leaders that I know are willing to do a little bit of work. As you'll find, it's not as much as you would think, but a little bit of work to shore themselves up and to become the type of leader that is ready for anything that comes at you, anything that the future can bring. And that's the beauty of self-awareness. You all probably wouldn't be here unless you understood how important it is for our, it improves our work performance. It gets us more promotions. It helps us be more confident and more influential. It helps us be better, more respected and effective leaders. There's some evidence saying it's the #1 predictor of leadership effectiveness. And there's a ton of benefits that follow us home that you'll learn about in the course. But what I've really come to believe very passionately over the last 5 or so years that I've been doing this research is because most people wrongly believe that they're already self-aware, the people who go through the effort and who are committed and brave enough to work on this critical skill are the ones that will get ahead. So I just want to thank you all for being here and for sharing that passion and really knowing what a leg up this is going to give you that most people are not courageous enough or maybe focused enough to have. So everybody has different spheres of their lives, right? We have work, we have our family, we have our friends, our community, any kind of volunteering that we do, religious organizations. So if you have a pen and paper right now, what I'd like to just give you a second to do is to list the different spheres of your life that are important to you right now. And there's no real right or wrong way to do this, but I want you to try to list like up to 5 self-awareness spheres of your life. So I'll just give you about 30 seconds to do that and then I'll check in. And maybe just to have fun with the chat feature, as you guys are thinking about this, I would love if anybody wants to type in a sphere or two that you came up with in the chat box. We would love to hear. Ooh, couple. My relationship with my significant other. That's a good one. I find that a lot of my executive coaching clients, the second most powerful place they apply a lot of these concepts is in their relationship with their significant other. Interaction with my team, awesome. Oh, hey, Andy, relationship with my students, my colleagues. This is great, you guys. This is exactly on the right path. Mentoring my team, my relationship with my wife. Oh, I love this. So it really comes alive. You think about self-awareness as like, oh, it's just this sort of like theoretical thing. But when you start to imagine, if I could improve my self-awareness in each of these spheres, what could that really mean for me? So that's the second step of this activity. and you don't have to type this in the chat box. You can if you want to, but you don't have to, is for each of those spheres, I want you to think about how satisfied you are with that particular area of your life right now. 1 is, I couldn't be more miserable. And 10 is, nothing could be better. It's absolutely perfect. So for each sphere, just think about like a gut number of your satisfaction of that area of your life right now.
So Matt, I'm going to allow you to talk here. Hey, Matt, are you there?
I am. Hi, Tasha.
Hey, Matt.
And everybody else. Thanks for doing this course. I, of course, am really grateful to be a part of this. And I had a kind of a two-parter. One of them was, you've written in the book and you wrote in the materials a little bit about your journey to self-awareness as a focus. Could you tell us just a little bit more of your personal story, add a little bit more color to how you ended up focusing on that as your primary focus? And then secondly, what's the one thing that as you go around the world and you talk to people and present and coach and everything else that you wish people really understood better about self-awareness?
Awesome.
Ooh,
Thanks,
I love
Matt.
that. Let me tackle that first, because I think that's a really important question. I think, so there are 2 big misconceptions that I think most people have about self-awareness. And we mentioned the first one at the top of the course, which is most people think they're doing pretty well. And for those of you that haven't gotten into the course yet, we've found that about 95% of people believe themselves to be self-aware, but only about 10 to 15% meet those criteria. And so I think that's the biggest misconception is, it's sort of an irony of this is that the people who need it most might be the least likely to know that they need it. But the second misconception, once people understand the importance of self-awareness and the fact that we all have room to improve and we're all in this journey together, is I think we think about it like this sort of magical process where it takes I've got to put a lot of time in, but if I do that, then I'll just have these magical life-changing epiphanies, right, that will completely change the course of everything. And in our research, we've quantitatively and qualitatively examined this is, when people make dramatic improvements in their self-awareness, what does that actually look like? Are they going from 0 to 100, or are they making more incremental kind of daily progress? And what we discovered, I was a little surprised, was that it's mostly about those small incremental gains. So if you think about like a small quick win in your self-awareness, realizing, getting a small piece of feedback in one of the worksheets from someone in your life, and having a little bit more insight and being a little bit more able to make better decisions. The sum total of those over time is what makes people unicorns, right? These highly self-aware people who didn't start out that way. And along with that, sort of the misconception that it's like this magical, sort of 0 to 100 process. I think people think that, I've got to put so much time in. People who are self-aware, right, they go to therapy once a week for an hour and they journal every night. And certainly you can do that. But the other thing that I've learned throughout the course of just, researching this and sharing it with people is if you can be smart and strategic, it doesn't take a lot of time to build that incremental self-awareness. And so to me, that's really powerful. Trying to think about my own journey. Maybe here's something that I'll share, just going back to a couple of points I've already made. So I've been an organizational psychologist for the last 15 years. And a large part of my job, if not all of my job in some cases, is to tell, very powerful, very successful people the truth about how they're seen. And as I saw these amazing transformations that they made by being brave and listening and making different choices, it was gratifying and it was wonderful. And when I started to write Insight I think it was 2014 that I started the research and writing the book, I sort of felt like I was the world's authority on self-awareness, right? Because I had seen all of this. And what I realized pretty quickly on in the process was, oh no, life is imitating art or life is imitating research. I am in the camp of people who thinks they're more self-aware than they actually are. When I started to apply so many of these tools to my own life, I had several rude and sometimes comical awakenings, many of which I share with you in the videos of the course. And the reason I think that's important to share, and Matt, thank you for those questions, is that we are all in this together. And what I've learned about myself is I am not the expert on high. I am the person who is slugging through this just like everybody else. And I think if we remember that and remember that this is something that we're not alone in, I think it could give us a lot more energy to continue.